Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 10th and what is, for now, the final edition of 1874 at home. And what better way to end it for now than being joined by our football secretary, Vicki England. Vicki, how are you?
I'm okay, matey. How are you?
Yeah, not doing too bad now. We had quite a long conversation at training this morning, but it's great to see so many of the lads down at training at the moment, isn't it?
Oh, it's terrific, and they're all in good humour. They're all fit. They're all fit as butcher's dogs. They've come back really well. But yeah, there's a good vibe about the place, and it's nice to be around. Good for my mental health, I have to say.
Yeah. Now, it's been a strange time for all of us really recently. We've had no football, we've had no nothing, being allowed out for once a day. Now things are starting to be opened up again. What's it been like for you, not only being in lockdown, but also having a break from 74 in some respects?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a weird time, hasn't it? I feel quite fortunate, I think, really, in that, we locked down. I've worked from home. The employer's been really good. My family have, stayed clear of this awful virus. So, I'm a blessing, really. So yeah, I've worked from home. My hubby's carried on going out to work, looking after family. My daughter's been at home. She's been furloughed, so we've spent some months together. We've done okay. I think there's only a couple of times where she sort of said, "You're doing me head in. When are the pubs opening?" But she's introduced me to the telly, because I don't normally get the chance to watch the telly, so we've been watching all sorts on the telly. And yeah, we've got through it. I got myself a little dog. We've got a new 74 dog in the family. She's met the players. She's been to the ground. So she's watched the Twitch on the Saturday afternoon, the games. So she's fully indoctrinated now into the family. And yeah, and in terms of the football, yeah, I mean it's been quieter. There's been bits to do, including ramping up to a new home shirt and things like that, and just watching for updates. So, I mean, there's always something to do with 74, but the pressure has been off. So it's just been a chance really to recharge the batteries and recycle and shred old team sheets, and just like everybody else, clearing stuff out. And but like I say, I'm thankful that those immediately around me have stayed clear of the virus, and long may that continue.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the same for my family as well. I'm very fortunate that everyone's managed to stay clear of the virus. Now, let's go back to the start of the club then, because I saw, actually, it was today on Twitter, that it was 7 years ago since our first ever game against Lost at Graham. Let's go back to the start then. What was it about the 1874 project that made you feel like, I have to get involved in this, not only just as a fan, but then also getting involved on the administrative side?
Yeah, I mean, I really believe that a football club should be in the hands of its supporters, and I wish that had been the case previously. So this concept of the supporters, just being in charge, making the decisions, absolutely is the way it should be. We've seen too many clubs, have issues. So I like the concept, and then momentum was growing. And at that point, I'd taken some time out from watching the football that I'd always known before, and I liked what was kind of happening, and why I got involved really into the role was Paul Stockton. I'd take some time out from watching football, as I say, but I did go to odd games. I'd been to to watch Winsford sometimes, and Barnton, and it was at a game, went over to Linnets, just to take a bit of footy in, and he he said, momentum's growing. If this happens, what would your commitment be to a new football club? And I said, I'm behind it. I like what's happening. I'm really behind it. It's going to be good. So of course, when it all went through and the vote happened, Paul come back to me and said, how about being the football secretary? And it was an honour. It was frightening. I'd been involved a little bit in junior football before, but not football admin, if you like, at a big level. I told him I didn't know what I was doing. Paul said, do any of us. We'll all support each other as we go along, and we'll all learn, and that's kind of how I got into it. So I've always been football nutty. From the moment I could walk, I was probably kicking a ball. So I guess it seemed sort of natural that as I got older, I would do something in football. But I just getting behind this new club and the vibe, and it was brilliant. But Paul was the factor that sort of pushed me over the line to really get involved, and true to his word, he was really supportive. As were all the guys. I knew them all, Guy and John and all the guys that were involved. So, we all kind of developed together. So it kind of went from there, really.
Yeah, now I planned on asking it slightly later on, but I feel like it's appropriate now. Now, I didn't get to fully appreciate the role that Paul played at the club in the early days. I was in 11 when the club really came into fruition, so a lot of that side of things just went over my head. I was watching the team on the pitch, and anything else that goes on you're unaware of. But the more I've got older, the more I've got involved with the club, the more you see and hear all the different stories about how great a man Paul was. Just describe for us what personally Paul was like, your relationship with him for football and also as a friend as well.
Oh yeah, he was. I miss him dearly. But he was very calm. He made many friends, and it's stood 74 in good stead today. To be honest, the way he went about things was the correct way. And he cared about people, and he cared about, as I say, we did everything the right way. Very calm and influence, very supportive. He would just ring me up, and on the phone would go, and it would be Paul, and it wasn't for anything other than how are you doing, and especially in the early days when I was a bit flummoxed and kind of, I guess, winging it as to how we were doing things, how I had to do things. But he would just ring up and how are you doing, or just maybe meet for a drink, or he'd just call in at home. I'm just out and about. I thought I'd just call in and have a brew, and just so supportive. But Mr. 74, he was just, but he in the nicest possible way, he knew what was going on with everybody. If there was a subcommittee going on at the time, he would be there. Whether it was the operations subcommittee that we were on to try and see how match day would run and things like that, or it was, fundraising or anything, Paul would be there. He was just a friend to everybody, but very, very calming. We had some great conversations when going to league meetings. He was principled, very principled about what he believed in, but just knew what to say and how to support people. So yeah, there was nobody better to lead us through than Paul. And as I say, we just miss him so much, really. But yeah, terrific guy. And I have to say, I'm pleased. Rich, his son, is very involved, with the club. Chris lives away a little bit, but he's back when he can and keeps in touch. And I'm just delighted that this year, where we've needed a little bit extra support on match day, with the move to Townfield, that his wife Cynthia kind of got involved and has helped, and she tells me often that it was one of the best things she ever did, and she realizes why Paul spent so much time with 74 and was out quite a lot, and she gets it now. She gets it. So I'm just delighted that she's involved now as well. So yeah, great man.
I was down at Townfield last weekend helping out with the groundwork, and we saw there that Paul's bench is now there in the ground as well, which is excellent. And one memory that sticks out for me was the Pontefract game in the FA Vars, where there was, I think, about 500, 600 people there singing "There's Only One Paul Stockton," and that memory sort of, I may have not fully appreciated what he'd done for the club at the time, but now as you get older, it's that memory that sort of becomes more poignant as well.
Yeah, I mean, Paul was very poorly at that time, leading up to the Vars, and he was really poorly. But he still had to get things in order. He still had to do things for the club, and one of the things he did, I mean, for the Pontefract game and Chichester and then of course semi, but what he did was, you know, he went to Witten and said, look guys, you know, we think we perhaps be better holding it here for various reasons, and he led the discussions. You know, Witten were ace, I have to say. Witten were really good, and he led those discussions to get us organised and playing that particular game at Winsham Park. And yeah, and God, he wasn't there to see it, and it was just, yeah, highly charged, very emotional. You know, the game itself was really good, very, very strong team. But our emotions, you know, and to see the first team out there and all the other, you know, the players and the juniors, and just remembering Paul, and I'm sure he was there somewhere watching over, but he set that up, you know, and just because of how he was with people, we were able to talk to Witten Albion, or we've been able to talk to, you know, whoever it be, whether, you know, Winsford or Barnes, you know, whatever local clubs. He's just set things up in the right way. So yeah, it was an emotional day that day.
And you mentioned before that, you know, he was encouraging you every single step of the way, and like many people, you may have had experience within certain roles, but in terms of football board, there wasn't necessarily experience there. And you mentioned to me several times over the past year, and today was one of them, where he said it was just run off raw passion and emotion that first season, and it was that helped us, apart from Formby folding in that season, that helped us get promoted that season. Was that something that had ever crossed your mind, that getting promoted that season?
I don't think there was no pressure. I think the big thing for me, and I know for the board, wasn't like, oh, we've got to get promoted first season. It was, we've got to do things right the first season. We've got to get through it by running it correctly, knowing what we were doing. And if any success come, brilliant. I mean, one of the early successes was the Supporters' Shield, where we played at Widnes, and I was like, God, you know, this is ace. What team we've got here. But it wasn't expected. It was about doing things correctly. It was about walking before we run, and that kind of thing. So I didn't expect promotion. And you're right. I mean, we had it was just terrific. We had a great season. It was our team. It really, truly was our team and our club. And we missed out on, was it goal difference? So we really just missed out just by a little bit. And then sadly, you're right, through Formby, which, you know, I hope that we come over, that we were really respectful at the time. We were offered a place in the Premier League, and we obviously were delighted to take a place in the, you know, Premier. But of course, yeah, we were really respectful and understood the difficulties of Formby at the time. We'd all lived through some difficulties ourselves. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, promotion, then we went on and we just showed that we could certainly hold our own there. I think we finished third in that next season, and it was brilliant. But I was surprised how quickly, how good we were so quickly. But then again, you know, we had Mr. Street, obviously, and the guys to thank for that, who'd been there and done it. So it was good. But just, you know, going round that first season and going to away games and seeing 200-300 people there, you know, in green, and it took your breath away. But it was pure emotion. It was, as I say, I mean, some people would argue I'm still winging it today, but it truly felt like that at the time. It's like, God, what do we do now? What do we do here? But it was emotion and passion that got us through it. We did have people that kind of had a good idea, but we weren't afraid to ask as well. So, you know, we'd go to the likes of Runcorn Linnets and maybe Winsford United and lean on people, and also the league were extremely supportive as well. So, you know, I knew I could ring up certain people at league and say, God, well, you know, what do we do now? But the emotion and passion got us through. So we learned to walk before then we started to canter and then run, really. But that's where it was that first season, just seeing so many people that you know, got behind this club, and Lostock, you know, that the game at Lostock where there was so many hundred people there, and they're all wearing the new shirts. I had to pinch myself. So yeah, it was a good time. Didn't expect promotion first season, but it was good. Even though it was good when it came and we took our place.
And it was, you mentioned before, I think we did come third in our first season in the Premier Division, and it was the second season where we won that trophy just over your shoulder.
Oh yeah. No, none of this malarkey now. People are zooming with bookcases and that. I don't do that here. Yeah, I mean, I've got them all over, to be honest, all around the room, because this is where I do the football work. But I've got the Macron Cups there, but yeah, that up there is obviously the lads. I mean, that Mid Cheshire Cup win was just, I probably couldn't speak for days after, which is not like me. But you know, the lads that won that, you know, we went there against the big local rivals, and I mean, for somebody like me who'd grown up on the green side of town, to go and beat the red side of town and do it well, and win the first you know, silverware was just brilliant. And another iconic moment again in our first season, because we were pushing, we were up there, we were trying to push for the automatic promotion. And Michael Van Branden, last minute against Eccleshaw, and the roof came off the Kingsway, I think, that night at Winsford, and that's the famous bare-chested celebration. And I mean, that's how I rock and roll. That's, you know, that's how I am in the. This is my club. But that's, yeah, I can look up there and just remember, you know, that trophy win was just something else fantastic.
I mean, what was it like seeing the club with, like, what, the third year on, beating Witton Albion for the Mid Cheshire Cup, especially after things in the first season we came so close and we took them all the way.
Yeah,
and narrowly lost 3-2, to then go and beat them 2 years later. It must have been really special for you.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I sort of sat in the stand that night, you know, being the dutiful secretary, behaving myself type of thing. And I mean, Ian Streety knew that kind of where we were from and the rivalry in the town. And I remember saying to him that morning, you don't realise that, you probably don't realise how big this is, you know, for us, you know. But yeah, it was stunning, because we thoroughly deserved it against a really good, you know, Witton side. But yeah, when you've grown up on the green side, it's everything. Beating your rivals, you know, it's everything really. And we played so well. And the crowd were just bouncing, you know, it was just brilliant. And you know, I cried, you know, I'll be honest, I cried over it, because I was so pumped with it and so proud. You know, I went in the club after, and then Paul Stockton said to me, "I'm going to take the cup home," and my heart just came out of my chest. I was just, oh my God, you know, my team has just won this cup in these circumstances, you know, and now the chairman wants me to look after this cup, and you know, I brought it home and wrapped my scarf around it and then slept with it and all that like you do. But just an honour, a real that you know, because Paul, by rights it should have been Paul, whatever. But just an honour for Paul to say to me, look after that cup, will you, till we can sort it. And God, yeah, it's a choker. So yeah, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, that particular cup win.
No, it was unfortunate. It was the next season afterwards where we saw Ian Street depart as manager, and there's many fond memories. As I spoke to him about a few weeks ago, what was it like for you seeing Ian leave after being the man who took on the challenge to set up the club and get the club going in the right direction? What was it like for you seeing Ian depart?
I mean, you always know one day you're going to move on. I'll move on. You know, I'll move back to the terraces and what have you, managers and players. But you know, Ian had done such a great job for us. He was a pain in the bum, and I know he'll be watching this. And you know, tell him daily. He's always been a pain in the bum. No, he's you know, he put so much into the club, and I'm really pleased he had that opportunity to speak to you, because I think the passion he has and still has. He's still a 74, you know, part of the 74 family. So you know, you gave him that chance to say what it meant to him. I'd loved for it to have been different for him. I would have loved for him to, because he did tell us, he was right, he did say, look, you know, at the end of the season, I'm looking to do something different. I'm going to sort of step aside. I'd love it to have been in a, you know, in the glory that he deserved, because he put his heart and soul into it. So to kind of see it happen the way it did was quite upsetting, really. And I hope that kind of, you know, you see it with other clubs as well. I hope that people learn from it that, you know, whatever anybody does, they're putting so much effort into it. You might not always get it right. I don't always get it right. The board don't, you know, but ultimately you're putting that much effort into it and you really care. So it was hard to see him, the circumstances. He did deserve better than that, and I'm glad that he's, as I say, I think the chat we had with him, you know, a few weeks ago, which was really good, I think it sort of, I'm going to say, cleared the air for him. But he's had his chance to say, and I think, and I know I've had contact with people that have said, no, wow, you know, we respect him for the job he did, and we look back now fondly because he did a brilliant job. You know, to get us where we were and to create something from scratch. So yeah, I knew it was coming. We spoke about it for a while. I just wish he'd have, you know, the ending had been a bit different. But I'm pleased. He's a mate. He really is a good friend. We do speak, you know, we do have contact, and that's a great thing that's come out of it for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're exactly right there. I think the conditions under when he left, it would have been much better had they been different. I think, obviously, for everyone involved with that, we all learn with it. But what that gave Ian an opportunity to do was to show the passion, the emotion that he had for the club. And I think for everyone else to learn, especially from me, because I'm just as interested in finding out what it was like in the early days forming the club and how he managed to set that up. And one thing that Ian did do is bring in Goody and Bo. Now,
Yeah.
Bo was there from the start, and then Goody obviously came in at the start of that season as a coach. Was there always the plan for them two to take charge together as caretaker managers? Was anybody else being considered for the role, do you know? Or was it always kind of set in that Paul and Wayne should be the people to take the club forward?
I think that was, I mean, I think Ian said that was his plan, that, you know, he was going to step aside and probably Bo then would slip in, and it might have been that if circumstances had been different, Ian might have kind of gone upstairs, as they call it, and helped out, and you know, that didn't happen. But I mean, you know, Paul's ace. He's been ace all the way through, and you know, and it was natural that he took a bigger involvement on. And then, of course, Goody had been in that season. We saw what a great coach he was, and I think when Ian went, and it was quite sudden then when Ian went, you know, people that are at the club always just take over for a few games, but I think we said straight away, no, these guys get it, they get the club, because that's a big important thing for us. You know, you've got to understand and buy into the ethos of the club. I mean, Ian did, you know, Paul always did, and Goody had done. So we did have contact from other people, as you can imagine, but it felt right from the first minute that, you know, there was a chat, and they both sort of said, yeah, you know, we can work together. Let's give it a whirl, and never in doubt for me. And they've done a really good job. They've done a really good job.
I mean, they certainly got off to a good start with a thumping win over Witton Albion in the first game. It wasn't a bad way to start, and we've seen as they've gone on, it's just propelled and got better and better. Now, their first full season in charge was a hectic one, to say the least. The FA Vars run, we got to the semi-final, 20 games postponed, and I'm sure that's one where you're still probably catching up from sleepless nights now, trying to sort out fixtures. Yeah. Describe what that was like for you, and also, first of all, what goes into your role as football secretary, and then how much strain that put you under for that season.
Probably I guess it's a bit of a blur now. How the heck did we get through it? I mean, you know, generally, you know, as football secretary, you know, there's certain tasks that you have to do, and you have time to do them. But when you're confirming games that are going to happen, you know, next week you've got 5 games, and you're trying to, you know, confirm games and sort colours out with the kit man, and, you know, Chris and I were in touch on what the hell are we going to play him in, because that will still be in for wash, and it was relentless. But I looked at the guys, I looked at what the guys were doing and the players, and they were giving so much effort. They were going to work, and then they were going to play a game Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday. We off the field had to do whatever we could, you know, so there was no sort of backing off and saying can't do it. What can we do to support you? We've got to support these lads. It's an absolute blur. Could I do it again? I don't know if I've got the energy to do it. It was crazy. I mean, we played 69 games. We had I don't know, 20 postponed because the weather was rubbish, and then of course we had that patch, we call it that patch, where the rest of the pitch might be good, but that patch was just terrible, and it was absolutely crazy, and it completely took over my life, I have to say. You know, work just had to fit in where it could, and family to a certain extent. So yeah, I mean, we made international headlines. You know, we were, you know, in the papers and around the world, the TV programmes, Sky being there, because it's crazy. And, you know, all the professionals now that moan when they've got a couple of games a week, they need to get a grip, because what the lads did there, and Bowen Goody as well, you know, trying to keep it all going, and it was exhausting for them. So I would say I'd have to give a big shout out really to John Reid, who was the fixture secretary at the league at the time, because he was really calm, and where I'm like, oh God, I'm going to fit it all in, and I probably spoke every day to him. But I mean, we got there. It wasn't great. We would never want anybody to go through that last 5 or 6 weeks, 4 and 5 games a season, but you know, we just had to do what we could, and John would move some games around to try and accommodate, you know, what we needed to do. So I'd give a big shout out to him, because he probably just kept me sane, you know, going through all that. But yeah, I mean, it was all consuming. It was crazy, but I mean, didn't they do well to you know, to get through it? You know, to just play all these games, just terrific.
Yeah, 100%. I think that was a season where it was almost a little bit of a turning point for the club. Obviously, we had the year before where, you know, Streety had gone. There was a bit of a transition, but then that season, everyone just came together and everyone worked hard. Obviously, we had the untimely passing of Paul, and it just brought everyone that bit closer together. And I think we've seen the team and the fans as well just progress further and further each time. One thing you mentioned to me this week, I mean, all jokes aside, was the riff-raff forming all together, just a group of fans. But it was that togetherness that we saw from that season, wasn't it, that brought everyone almost to where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, the cup games we'd had, you know, the FA Cup. I mean, we played 25 FA, not counting the local cups, but it's like 25 games in the FA Cup, and then the Vars or something like that. But yeah, everybody just really got together and got behind it, because the lads were terrific. I mean, to only go out at offset on the penalties the way we did, but you know, brilliant. And then to go on that Vars run, but it did. Everybody felt a bit more engaged with it all, maybe, and just went along for the ride. And yeah, I think that's where the riff-raff sort of developed. I do worry about the riff-raff at times, but yeah, it was, everything was just galvanised, and you know, it didn't matter. The league in the end, it wasn't about where we were finishing. It was about us getting through and completing those fixtures. And we did think about playing 2 fixtures on one day if we needed to do. You know, we were whatever it was going to take, we were going to finish the season on time. So, you know, it was just about getting through it, and it wasn't about where we were finishing in the league that year. But we could see how good this was going. And you know, it was really good. But yeah, it was bonkers. And I say Sky being down and things like that, the interest that was taken in the club at that time was really good as well.
Yeah, and I think the interest in the club has increasingly just grown more and more year on year. I mean, last year was a great year. We were on Talk Sport earlier in the year. We've been our away kit went viral. All this sort of stuff happened, and I think it's what's brought the club together over the last few years was that Vars run, because it encapsulated the club name in the town firmly. And then last year, our performances were superb, weren't they?
Oh yeah, I mean, the Vars run was really, really special, and I know we didn't get to the final. I'm so proud of them to have got to that semi-final, but along the way was magical. I mean, you know, the contact we had, and you know, making all the arrangements for us to go around. Going down to Leighton was a great day out, and things like that. So it galvanised us as a club and got people really, really behind us. And then yeah, I mean, last year I'm not usually lost for words, but I don't know how to articulate it, I guess, how good it was. I think, you know, you could have a rump steak, but we got fillet. You know, do you know what I mean? It was every game. I mean, even, you know, even the games that last season that we got beaten, it was like, wow, what performance. We were beaten at Longridge, but we came away from that thinking, what a heck of a game to have been involved with. You know, what fantastic football. There was never a game where you said, well, you know what, they weren't very good today. They played well in every game, and it was an absolute delight. The football was just some of the best I've ever seen watching, and I've watched football for a long time, and it was some of the best football, just head and shoulders, you know, above anybody else. And I would say that I'm biased, but it really was. And the, you know, the last minute winners and that kind of thing. I mean, my blood pressure just went through the roof a few times. But what they did, and not, you know, just about, you know, the football and how, you know, that they were winning and everything, it's how they conducted themselves. I mean, another proud thing for the club is the awards we won as well. So not just the fact that we were at top of the league, which was great, but, you know, we won the Respect award. The discipline had got, you know, was better. You know, we won the three times on the run, we won Club of the Month, but we won the league's Respect award, which there's a lot that goes into that on and off the field. The discipline, and it was unprecedented that the three came together. You know, for the league management committee members to come down and personally talk to some of our guys and say, you know, how well we thought we were doing, was great, you know. So it's how you go about it as well. which is really important. And we do that really, we do that really well. So yeah, I'm gutted. I sulked for a while. There's no doubt about it. When the FA said that's it. I mean, we understood football had to end and that we wouldn't play again. We got that, but we could have taken a bit more time perhaps to look at it. We put our views back as a club in the respectful way. But for them lads not to get their rewards, and it just felt like it just been dismissed quite quickly. I sulked. I was gutted for them. But then I just sort of thought, I'm going to snap out of it now, because we will go again at some point. And that's what we're doing. So it won't be erased from our records, and certainly won't be erased from our memories, because it was wonderful. But we were focused on going again.
Yeah, 100%. I spoke to Mark Jones today at training, and he came across with a message again saying it's now up to us to prove to everyone else that last season wasn't a one-off, and it was to go again and to make sure we do it again. You mentioned about doing everything in the right way, and especially this time, that is so important. What challenges has the club faced whilst we've not had any income from match days or anything? What challenges has the club faced whilst being in lockdown?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it, with the income? So we don't quite know. We're sort of talking about what we would like to do next season, but we don't quite know, what that will look like. When you're building and you've got plans to do things, will our income still be the same? Will we still have the same sponsors? How does it look for them? So we've got to be cautious with what we're doing and the plans we're putting in place, and just and things we would like to help Barnton with at the ground, which we are doing. There's perhaps more that we would like to do. We just need to be a little bit cautious, how we we're looking at things at the moment, because will next season happen? We hope so. But yeah, the income went down, and the income might stay down. So it's just a cautious view on everything, really. But I mean, we are ticking along. We've been well managed over the year. We've got the best treasurer anywhere ever, who keeps us on track and that kind of thing. So again, it's not, we don't run, we're walking. And on the plans that we've got, really, and we'll just need to see how it goes, and if we get football back, great, we can build again, but just being very cautious, I guess.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and there's different things that you maybe want to do at Barnton, but you have to be cautious over them. Describe the relationship we've got with them. Obviously, we had a great one with Winsford for the time that we've been there, but Barnton have been terrific, haven't they, this season?
Yeah, they have. So, I mean, Winsford were great for us, and we were really pleased to go there, and we worked, in partnership with them, and it was really, really good. And I think the time was right then that we wanted to get back to, our town area, and again, Barnton, led by Steve Lloyd and the guys there, were very receptive to having a chat about what could we do, and welcomed us with open arms. Just really, really, really good. Really good friendship built up with them, and it's been great. I think we've all enjoyed being at Townfield. So and there's a new board there now, which we met a couple of the guys last week, and they're going to be great going forward. Got a lot of ideas, and so we're just blessed, really, that we've worked with some really good people along the way, and I think they appreciate that we're trying to help them, and we appreciate the support we've had from them in allowing us to play at the grounds. So it's been good. But Barnton, yeah, they're a really good gang up there.
Now, finally, before we move on to the more slightly bizarre section of these interviews, what does 1874 mean to you?
Oh, that's a big question. It's just, I would say I'm football mad anyway, but it's everything. It's 74 family. I talk a lot about 74 family, and it's that's how it is. It's the people. It's the management and the players who I adore. I adore the lads. But it's the people and it's the family and it's just everything. And it just takes over your life. You just every kind of waking moment's like, what we're going to do next for the club, and so it's everything. It's hard to describe, I think, really, but it's a family. It genuinely is, a family, and it's love it.
Yeah.
No, it's hard to explain. It's everybody loves their club, but I think when it's truly ours, we truly own that club and we truly run that club. It can't get any better than that, and we'll make progress with everybody together. It might not be a quick fix, but we will make progress together. But the vibe around the club is great, and the people that I kind of have a lot to do with and work with, yourself and the Ash and all the people like that, everybody that's doing something for the club. And I think that's the thing with we when we first started, we needed to learn to walk. Now we're absolutely running with many areas of the club. What you do, Matt, for us, and the engagement that you've brought in lockdown has been great and been commented by so many. They just still feel part of the club. And the social media, I'm sorry, there's no better social media out there. Look at the the goal of the season. And no other club would do that. Get some of the players to commentate and do what they do. And then the community side, again, we at the beginning it was all about the community. But then you look at the journey we've gone on with the community and what we're doing now. It's not ticking boxes. We truly believe it. So there's other aspects of the club that we're probably just having a bit of a jog on, and that's your development. But we zoom away on many, many things, and that's that's been as the years have gone on, we've become more professional in certain things and more forward thinking. So that raw emotion of setting the club up, emotion is still there, but it's now the professionalism and the business side and what do we need to do to move on up. So there's many areas of our club that I'm sorry nobody can touch. I would say that anyway, wouldn't I?
And another one of those areas will be the new home kit when that gets released.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it.
In my opinion, there will be no better home kit this season in our league, certainly, than ours.
And the guys that do it better than me, and I don't get involved in that, but the guys will explain the journey that's been on. But again, as we saw with the blue kit, and that was just bonkers, and still is. Brian was telling me probably 2-3 weeks ago, he's posted a shirt out to, I think it was America. It's still pretty going viral type of thing. So we saw that through like fan engagement, and it's the same with this, and the guys will explain it better than me, but it started with engagement. Tell us what you'd like to see in a football shirt, and it's developed, and I think Luke's done a great job in getting order to it, and just developing it that bit further. But there's been a lot of conversations around it, and it's got something for. People will see it when it comes out. It's got something for everyone. It will satisfy perhaps some of the traditionalists. It will satisfy those that are more forward thinking, and perhaps, I don't mean way out, a bit more way out. I don't mean that, but a bit more, we need to move with the times. So there's been a lot of conversations to get where we are. but I absolutely love it. Can't wait to order it. And as I say, they'll tell the story better than me, but it's really good. It really is a good shirt.
Now, you mentioned to me at training this morning that you were incredibly looking forward to let me know your five-a-side team.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. I wasn't sure whether you'd asked me this, but yeah, I've thought about it when you first said about you're going to do one of these chats, and I thought, well, he's going to, right, okay. So, but and you asked me this morning, is it going to be, I think, legal? Because how can you? Because you know I adore the lads. I mean, in the current,
I just thought, how could you? They're your boys, as you like to call them. So how are you going to pick just five of them?
Good, he says, the my boy. Yeah, I mean, out of the current squad we've got, we could have how many five-a-side teams, because they are all that good. But then when I look back, how could I leave out someone like Michael Van Branden? How could I leave out Matty Ward? You know, and Matt Conkey. We've been blessed to have so many really good players and players that fit the club. They've all, you know, any player that comes to play for 74 has got to be of the right calibre off the field too. They've got to get it. And I keep in touch with so many, even now. You know, I love that side of it. I love it. So how could I choose a team of lads? So I'm avoiding that. I'm not going with.
I said to you this morning, have you found a loophole in it? And you said you'd found no loophole.
These people are 74 through and through, and I believe will make a good five-a-side team. And I've thrown a sub in as well today after speaking to somebody. So these are 74 through and through, and can play, and would do us a good job on a five-a-side pitch. So I'm going to go in goal, Dave Stevenson. Dave's be a great keeper in his career. Unfortunately, we only saw Dave with one game for 74. I think that was the way it landed. No, and even though he got his knee was hurting a bit and what have you, you could see the quality. You could absolutely. But what Dave's, you know, is a great player, and he's done a brilliant job for 74 in the way that he's helped to develop our goalkeepers, and he's the coaching side, and he's supported, you know, Bowen Goody brilliantly. But what a keeper, you know. So Dave's in goal, and we won't let any goals in because Dave's in goal. The back two, Paul Bowyer, you know, tells me how good. I other than playing for 74 in the earlier days, I didn't get to see Paul, you know, in his heyday. So, but he always tells me he was a good defender, good player. So, you know, Paul's in there. He would do his best for 74. Playing alongside him, another good defender that I did see back in the day, and that's Wayne Goodison. Wow. I did go to see him. I watched Crewe quite a bit years ago when my team played away. So, you know, Wayne's in there. You know, I know. You know, good player. So I'm happy with that defence. I mean, nobody's going to get through that. But further up now, you know, just to make sure nobody gets through and then get that ball going, is Ian Street. Ian, you know, again, I don't think there was any videos around when Ian played. He'll love me for saying that. But Ian tells me he was a good player. He was a good midfielder. He tells me he was a little bit of an animal at times, but you know, nobody's going to get past them. But we've got the creativity as well, and then up front, one of the biggest legends that we've got at our club, and I've seen him in training. You have, Matt. We've seen him how he runs around that pitch, you know, and that's Phil Lee, because Phil's got a wise head, you know, knows how to play football, fit. So yeah, I'm putting Phil Lee up front. So these boys behind can, you know, get that ball up to him, and Phil knows what to do to put it in a goal. And I put my sub in today, and that's Andy Williams, the kit man, because he tells me he can play a bit, and I probably need, because, you know, we're thinking, you know, Wayne might have to rest his knee a little bit and that kind of thing. So I need to bring somebody in. So I'm going for Andy a sub. So a bit different. I could not put 5 lads in. I could not choose out of them because they are all brilliant, you know, past and present. So this is an alternative. I believe, put that side out now, they would do us a good job.
You know, that is something I would really like to see.
Maybe we'll perhaps get it to happen.
Well, you're allowed to play 5-a-side football now, aren't you?
We can do, yeah. But yeah, you know, maybe this is something we can get together. We're hoping to do a community day. We were doing it in conjunction with Barnton. It was supposed to happen, you know, a couple of months ago, but that was going to be Legends. So some of these lads that we've mentioned, they were all coming back, and Ian was going to manage it. We planned to do it with the guys at Barnton. We want to do it next year, whenever that might be. Maybe that's the time that we show the talents of, you know, these guys that I've put in. It's possible.
Do you reckon any of them will be as good as Callum Gardner at 5-a-side?
Callum's a world beater, absolute world beater. I think they give him a run for his money, but yeah, I mean, Carl, God.
Now, I don't know how many of these episodes that you've seen over the last few weeks, but there was one incident that came up from Lee Jackson that Mike Corral broke his Harry Potter mug. Mike Corral swears it's not him. However, over the last few weeks, for various different names, Paul Boyer seemed very quick to think that it was Lee Jackson that broke it. Harry Kane intimated that he thinks it also could be Lee Jackson that broke it. But Scott last week threw Matty Russell's name in the mix, a complete left field one, but he thought that he could have broke it. Who do you think broke the mug?
I don't think for 1 minute that it's, as Kyle would say, it was the gorgeous Corral. I can't see it. You know, that lad's not got a bad bone in his body. I don't think it was him. I kind of thought all the way along that it might be Lee himself, but I'm beginning to think the more and more I hear, I don't quite know what goes on in that house. I probably don't want to know, really. So I think that probably at any one time there might be 100 people in that house partying, and it could be any one of them. So I don't think it was Matty Russell. Matty's a good lad. But yeah, I think sometimes there are some strange and wild things that go on in that house. So
you saying it could be a visitor from the outside of that house that may be responsible?
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure that is one of life's enigmas that we will never truly know the real meaning of.
Yeah, and you know, you think to yourself, I'll get to the bottom of it, and then you think, I don't know if I should. Let's not go there.
Well, that's what Harry Kane seemed to intimate at first. Now, would you rather feet for hands or backwards knees?
This is just absolutely bonkers, and I do worry about the riffraff at times. I absolutely, again, is another thing of getting inside their heads.
That you don't want to.
It's a dangerous place. I've heard about your Friday nights and things like that, and your away days. So that's feet for hand, backward. I guess I'd have to go for the backwards knees because I can sit down and I'm on a laptop. That's my job. It's throwing the paperwork around, and so you know I don't need to be running out there and anything. So I'm gonna have to stick with, you know, backwards knees to keep my hands free.
Would you rather fight one Scott McGowan-sized duck or 100 duck-sized Scott McGowans?
I don't get it. Every week I say to my daughter, what the hell does that mean? And I still don't get it. But I know that I couldn't fight anybody. So I'm more of a hugger. So if there's something in there where I can hug 100 Scott McGowans or that kind of thing, that's what I do. But it's just, what about with the bonkers?
It certainly is. Here's another bonkers one. Would you rather read people's minds to the tune of Baby Shark or fly at walking speed?
Baby Shark does my head in. So it'd have to be the flying, because that Baby Shark does your head in.
Yeah, wise answer. Now, speaking of headaches, we move to the Twitter questions. Who gives you more of a headache, Goody or Bo? And that is from Wayne.
They are both, and I'm going to tell you about these pair now. You know, people outside, two good lads, they do everything the right way. You know, the football, the way they conduct themselves. You know, Paul's been with us from day one, both of them get the club, and everybody thinks the sun shines from them. There's another side to them that you don't see. They're a pair of terrors. I'm telling you, a pair of terrors. I set up a WhatsApp group with the three of us so that, you know, we could just chat about certain things, and they terrorised me. They absolutely, and people don't see it. So who gives me the most? They're both a pair together.
Good answer. How much do you owe in fines?
I'm probably up to about £492 now. They don't like being called gaffer, so you know it's just there, isn't it? So when I get to 500, I think I'm putting out a good Just Giving page.
Well, quite a few other people do, so I guess that's quite it's appropriate. This is from Chris Williams. Which player has messed up the most signing forms, and how many forms did he use?
I don't know that I should name names, really. I mean the players will tell you every year. I stand over them when we get the forms and we can start signing. I'll stand over them and I'll say, right, come on, you need to fill this in correctly. It needs to be legible. I want you to do it in capitals. You need to include your middle name, else the league won't accept it. And I really do sound, you know, the mother in me is like, come on, you've got to do this. So I've had a few lads come back to me and say, and to give me another one because I've messed that up. And you're like, I have written some out for lads in the past, got them to read it and sign it. So I've had a few where you've got to put your middle name on it because the league won't accept it unless you do, but they don't put the middle name on it and then the league reject it. So I've had a few of them. I guess the best one, and I'm not naming it, I love him. I love the guy to bits, and he's not with us anymore, but he couldn't remember his address. He when we were writing it out, I put his name down and everything, and he couldn't. And it was so surreal. He couldn't remember. He'd recently moved houses. So when I said, well, I know how to get there. And I think it's number 4 or whatever. So I had to hold that over then and texted him a few times until he came back and he could fill his address in. So yeah, I've seen it all. I can't name names, but there's been a few where they've caused me a few headaches.
I would love to know who that player was. Now,
we'll speak.
Would you move up north for an extra tenner, and that's from Aston Athletic?
It'd be an extra tenner than I get now. It cost me a fortune to do what I do for this club, but that's how everybody is. Ashton, bless them. I mean, that's one of the good things that I found is that the counties is just a terrific league. I adore going round, step 5 of football, and I've never been happier. The clubs in the league are just brilliant. And I do get to know many of the people, the secretaries, and build up some really good friendships with the chairman and people behind the scenes. And Ashton, one of my very favourites was Taffy, who was the secretary at Ashton, and he sadly passed away. And just a brilliant bloke he was. So I have a nice link with Ashton. And if I didn't have 74 and I lived a little bit closer, I'd probably go and watch my football there.
This one's from your husband. Andy, what's for tea?
he can fend for himself, especially in especially in the football season. He just has to get on with it. we don't do normality when football season's on. We don't have time.
And this one's from Alan Ryden. Does your boss support 74 as they are very understanding?
No, although he's taken an interest in the club. I mean, he's a Manc. He's from Manchester, so he's a United fan, which suits me. We both work amongst quite a few Liverpool fans, so that's been a tricky one recently this season. But he is understanding. He's not, if he knows my wellies are in the car, it means that there must be a pitch inspection somewhere. And to be fair, he's, they're pretty good at, whatever I need to do, it's flexible. So, but he is following the club. He does comment. He does know how we're going on and that kind of thing. So that was good.
Yeah, and that brings us to the end of, for now, this series of 1874 at home. Thank you to all the players and anyone that's been on. It's been really good, I think, hearing different stories from the club, why people came to the club, why they like the club, other different stories as well about their own careers. And I think there's no better way than with you doing it today, Vicky. So thank you very much. I
want to thank you, Matt, as well, because what you're doing for 74. With your articles, with what you do with the players, what you've been doing matches, when you're into, series at home, it's kept everybody in the loop. And again, something that we didn't do in the early days, but now we are really running with it, and that's thanks to you. That is, so you've been a star.
Well, that was quite nice. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And as well to everyone else who's giving comments and stuff on Twitter as well, because this wouldn't happen if you didn't have all the weird and wonderful questions that get asked at the end of them, which breaks up from the serious stuff. I don't think I'll need to ask any more would you rathers to anyone for the moment. But if I did, I've got a nice little backlog of questions. So that's it for this edition. Thank you all, and we'll see you all very soon.